And this session is talking about EE and its connection with Wembley, the partnership that they have, which is to make the stadium the most connected stadium in the world. And to explain how and why they're doing that, Matt Stevenson is the head of sports sponsorship with EE. He's going to join me on stage now. Thanks, Matt. I think the first fairly basic question is how long the partnership's been going and why this partnership started.
Yeah, sure. So, morning everyone. So the deal has been going for 3 years. We're into our 4th year now with the stadium. And it was something that was really looked at as the opportunity to support the development of the brand within the UK market. So EE was created with the coming together of T-Mobile and Orange, and to enable to support the traditional media and the traditional communications that we were doing in the marketplace with above-the-line advertising, we were looking at something that could really bring the brand and really bring the business to life. And very fortunately, having worked at Orange and knowing the sort of support and passion they put behind sponsorship, it was an important part of their strategy moving forward to ensure that sponsorship was part of the program of developing the brand and developing the business. So we were looking for something that was big, that was bold, that was iconic, and most importantly, that could demonstrate our network, that could bring the network to life, and finding a property to do that was important. And at the time, Wembley, the FA approached us around Wembley, and conversations started, and it started to become a realistic proposition, and driving it forward to enable us to sort of, I guess, craft and design the sponsorship and the assets in the way that would work for us was something that was very appealing and ultimately worked very well for us.
And over the years, 4 years, how has that sponsorship developed and progressed?
Yeah, very, very well. So key to the sponsorship and key to the negotiations was putting technology at the heart of the deal. So enabling us to demonstrate our network, as previously mentioned, was incredibly important. And central to the deal was an investment into the network at the stadium to really drive the 4G story forward. EE was in a position where it was ahead of its competitors in the marketplace. It had 4G for 6 months prior to O2 and Vodafone in the UK, and Wembley enabled us to put 4G at the centre of the fan experience, and we designed and built a network for that stadium that ensured that 90,000 people in such a small area could still do the things that you'd expect to do walking down the street when you're at home, but basically sharing your experience of being at Wembley and being at the event that you're at, and sharing that with your friends and family. So that has been incredibly successful for us. The sort of data consumption has grown massively, and people's usage of the mobile network and usage throughout the event has been very successful for us, as has the more traditional side of the partnership with the assets around the net media value and around the opportunities to offer customer tickets, to offer customers those sort of once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to get to Wembley. It's been very beneficial for us to grow the brand, but also importantly to demonstrate the network and what the network can do from a fan experience point of view.
As a sports fan that goes to lots of events, I'm sure most people here will understand that sports stadiums don't tend to be particularly connected. It's not somewhere that you go and you expect to be on your phone, or didn't used to expect to be on your phone, whereas now, presumably, the expectation is that you can be on your phone and do whatever you want while you're there. And if there are a lot of people around, obviously that's been an issue in the past. Yeah,
I think so. I think you're right. I mean, it was very important for us and for the FA and for Wembley to ensure that it's still important to use your phone at the right time. You're there to see the game. You're there to, whether it be football, rugby, whether it be music, it's about using it at the right time, but giving you the opportunity to be able to share that experience beforehand. And we see data usage massively increase, you'd expect, before kickoff and at half-time and then on the way home. So it's been a challenge to really create the right architecture around the network that we've developed there, but we've made it happen, we've made it work. And from an EE customer point of view, you get a pretty phenomenal experience. We've worked closely with other networks. Vodafone have also come into the stadium and upgraded their network, so their customers can get 4G, and we're now working and trying to push with O2 to upgrade their network to ensure that you have a 100% coverage of people within the stadium getting a great experience.
Media consumption is changing for those that were in the session before. We're talking about young 18 to 24, the age group just not being TV watchers at all, which is obviously terrifying for somebody like me. They consume all of their media in very, very different ways, and presumably they want to be doing that almost at the same time as watching sports.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it was always the trade-off for us between, we've always talked about this, you know, the third screen or the second screen, the third screen, and how many screens there are now that people are at home using. The key driver for us was to make sure that the experience was focused around the game that's happening on the pitch itself and not taking away from that. So it was really a sort of a working closely with the FA to make sure that that was the right experience that we were gaining. And we've just seen through data consumption, and I've got a slide here, just the development of the network at the stadium has been a sort of a 2-3 year development and investment from our point of view, and as mentioned, it was central to the proposal that we had with the FA. And as you'd expect, customer behaviour and data consumption has naturally increased, but I think by building the network there, it has enabled people to do more at the stadium. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner is the 2014 FA Cup semi-finals and the FA Cup final itself, and you can just see the trajectory of data consumption, and that's been enabled through the introduction of 4G through both ourselves and through Vodafone at the stadium. So there's the demand is there to do it, to be able to share your experience, and the network is now built there to enable you to do it and to do more. So the FA Cup this year was the first terabyte of data that was data consumption, and for us that's a massive breakthrough, and it just shows the need for the 4G network at the stadium.
Around the world, are there other stadia that are doing this? I know you want to be the most connected stadium in the world, so how do you quantify that from looking around?
Yeah, it's very much, it was a shared vision between ourselves and the FA, and one that was the realization that this partnership could actually work. For us as EE, when we first started, it was about enabling you to do more through our network, and for the FA, it was about creating the most connected stadium in the world. So this is very much our vision, it's very much our shared vision, and what we looked to do was open the network up to all of the providers to ensure that everyone had the same experience and the right experience at the stadium. And for us, it was about driving the mobile network and not necessarily Wi-Fi, which is very much what's being done at the moment around the world. Now, the way that we look at our network and the way we test our network is through successive calls, successive texts, success of the activity that you're doing on your phone, plus through data consumption. And that allows us to then tweak and make the network more efficient as we move forward and invest in the right areas to ensure that people's behavior, our network enables people's behavior to continue to share that experience. So when you're starting to look at quantifying it against other stadiums, we don't do that. It's very much a shared vision that we have, and it is a vision. We know it's a challenge, and we know that it's a competing technology between the mobile network and Wi-Fi. We think the 4G network and the mobile network is the way forward, and will only continue to grow, and will only continue to be able to take the capacity that customers are asking for and wanting.
We're looking a lot at fan engagement in these sessions. Presumably it's quite easy for you to tell when you've got engagement with the audience in terms of the sponsorship brand that you are with EE.
Yes. Yeah, it works on a number of ways. I mean, so we focus very much on the network and the use of the network. That's something that's key and is central to every event that happens. And then over and above that, we have the opportunities around the assets that the sponsorship provides to look at our engagement rates with our customers and to understand how the appeal of the partnership works for the business. So when we're looking at measuring success of the sponsorship, it's not just around the technology and the network, it is around our awareness of the partnership, but most importantly, it's about perception to the brand, whether that's how you feel about the brand. The key thing being is the first choice purchase intention is what we look to measure against in everything that we do, and how we can look at these different groups of different audiences that engage in the stadium or aware of the stadium, and how the sponsorship and other propositions that we have, how that impacts first choice when customers are looking to choose their next network when their contract is up. So for us, whatever we're doing, whether it be a competition to our customers or much larger activations, awareness and first choice continue to be the key things for us throughout what we do.
Shared experience is becoming the thing that people want to do while they're at sport as well. So that's presumably part of what you're now doing to take forward the experience of being at a sports event.
Yeah, there are a number of things, and there's something that, well, hopefully we're launching in the next couple of months, which will do exactly that. It's about getting people to share their experiences at the gig, at the event, at the game that they're at, and the network enables them to do that, whether that's through Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram. It's about ensuring that people are always connected when they're at the stadium, sharing that experience beyond just the 90,000 that are in the stadium. It's how we amplify it and get it beyond the stadium itself. And for us, the activation side of things is an incredibly important part of sponsorship within EE, and it's something that we focus on every year and try and create new and interesting ways of activating our assets to appeal to as wider audience as possible.
Companies use influencers, YouTubers, a lot more these days than they used to. Can you explain a bit about how specifically you would choose the right influence for your brand?
Yeah, sure. I think I'll flick through a few of the slides. The interesting thing that we've done reasonably recently, that there are a couple of projects that I think are probably worth looking at and taking that influencer market in two slightly different ways. You may not be able to see, but on the top of the arch, there's a little black spot at the top of the arch. Just there. There's a gentleman called James Kingston that we worked with, and he's a free climber. So, as mentioned, whatever we try and do with the assets and the partnership at Wembley is we try and use it across the whole business and ensure the whole business benefits from the partnership. This was a product launch that we did around a 4G action cam. A GoPro with a SIM, for want of a better description or an easier description, but it enables you to live stream over our network the thing that you're doing. So rather than getting home and uploading the content and then downloading it on YouTube, this enables you to live stream to your fans, to your friends, to your family. And we use James Kingston as an influencer to get out into the marketplace, this action cam, to this adventure market. And we worked closely with the FA over quite a considerable period of time around health and safety and the rest of it to enable him to climb the arch, or certainly get to the top of the arch. And it gave us great profile and great reach. And once he was at the top of the arch, he live streamed with our CEO back in Piccadilly, where the launch of the product was happening, and really brought the product to life, as well as using the asset of Wembley as a key part of that. And it worked incredibly well for us, and it was just another demonstration of how the assets and the activation of our assets work so well in an influencer market.
And how do you get repeat engagement from what's effectively a stunt and presumably a one-off? How do you then get people to come back?
Yeah, so the challenge with this is how we then ensure that the story integrates through all the different channels that we have, through retail and through our PR and through our base communications. So we look to work as a wider project team across the whole business to ensure that anything that we do is integrated across the line and through the line, whether that be in retail, whether it be above the line. We've been fortunate to be able to use Wembley in a TV ad in the last couple of years as well. So it's about really sweating the assets as hard as possible and ensuring that we're using Wembley as a really key tool to drive awareness of EE, but what we stand for through the network and through our products in this case here.
And I know we've spoken already about a project that you might be sort of looking more towards doing in the future, but using influencers and using YouTubers and getting to the younger people who might not maybe watch football in the same way that we traditionally watch football at the moment. And the Wembley Cup is something that you're bringing, or that has been used in the past, and that you're bringing back again this year.
Yeah, I think the Wembley Cup is something that's been, for us, a key activation for Wembley, and at the time of launch in 2015, pretty groundbreaking. And we were approached by one of our agencies back in 2013 about this phenomenon of people uploading videos onto YouTube and the younger audience, really taking note and engaging with these YouTubers. And it was quite early in the days when all they were doing was literally playing FIFA on their Xbox and uploading it as they commentated every game that they played. And it was pretty basic, but it was certainly getting a following and starting to build a lot of momentum with the younger audience. We were then introduced to a gentleman called Spencer FC, who had an idea of bringing all of his mates together, who were all YouTubers, and creating a football team, and ultimately building that football team to play an actual game of football at Wembley. And so that idea just snowballed, and in the first year, we worked incredibly closely with him to create an 8-episode series that sat on his channel, that talked about the build-up of this YouTuber team that ultimately played a game at Wembley, a proper game of football at Wembley. So taking them off the seat, taking them off the sofa and in front of the TV, and actually getting them to see if they're any good or not. The interesting thing about the influence is the reach from our point of view. The issue that we have as EE is obviously engaging with that younger audience, and I think that's quite a shared problem across brands and across businesses. And for us, it was how do we appeal to this audience and how do we engage with them? And these guys have a phenomenal reach, and even, this is out of date now, but at the time of last year, the YouTubers that we worked with had over 40 million subscribers and well over 5 billion views of the videos that they do. So incredibly influential, and their fans really engage with what they do as well. And I just wanted to dwell on this for a second. This was the trailer for last year, and on the left-hand side is our YouTube page, and on the right-hand side is Spencer's YouTube channel. And although the views are very similar, we paid for all of those views to come in. Spencer's is organic. That's his fan base. That's his fans just wanting to see content from him and wanting to be involved. Also, what you've got there is then the engagement between EE's channel and Spencer's channel, where I think we've got about 80 comments and he is just short of 4,000. We have around 200 likes and he has just over 40,000. So the engagement levels are phenomenal, and it was a real eye-opener for us from the first year to not only have massive views, which is great when you start talking about the big numbers, when the project gets 40 million views, and it's almost a number that you can't really fathom. But the key thing is about for us is about the engagement between that age group and the content that's being delivered. And so it was a reason why we chose to ensure that the content that was produced was very much based on Spencer's channel and not on our channel. So all of the episodes sit on Spencer's channel. That's where his audience are, that's where the fans go, that's where people want to see it. And so it became a sort of a breakthrough moment for us that we were doing the right thing by ensuring the content was sitting on his page. Plus also taking his viewpoint very much on what the content should be. His fans, they are his fans, they are his audience, they are very much there to see his content. And so we worked closely with him to ensure that the building up of this episode to sort of the conclusion of the game at Wembley Stadium was very entertaining, incredibly engaging, and something that the audience wanted. And that's something that we've developed over time when we first did it in 2015, 2016, and we are looking to launch in a couple of weeks' time the series in 2017 with the game playing at Wembley in October the 7th at 3 p.m. on October the 7th of this year.
That's obviously been very successful, but are there risks in terms of aligning yourself with somebody like Spencer FC that, long term, you don't know where he's going to go, presumably?
Yeah, not necessarily with Spencer,
Yeah,
I suggest, but we certainly had to look through and understand all of the influences that we were going to be working with, not just with Spencer, but we're working with 40 or so influencers this year. And yeah, absolutely. So, some of the content that some of the guys were doing early on was not right from a brand point of view to be associated with. So we didn't work with them. But you're absolutely right. It's very important that you're working with influencers that are right for the brand and authentic in what they're doing and authentic in the content that they're producing for their fan base, because ultimately it's their fan base that are seeing the content, and you have to be a part of what they're looking to produce and what they're looking to watch. But certainly working with the right influencers, ensuring they're a right fit for your brand was something that was incredibly important for us. There were a couple that we didn't work with just because of that reason, exactly so.
And then how do you get the people that are viewing this into your brand? How does that work?
So what we look to do in a number of ways is with regards to the actual content itself, we look at the brand, the brand look and feel within the whole series. What we don't do is we don't over-brand things. We may use, for example, here you've got the aqua and yellow, which is very much EE's colours. We look to continue that throughout the episode. When they're playing in the game, unsurprisingly, the shirts are sponsored by EE, and you're at Wembley Stadium, and the LEDs and the digital branding around is very much EE focused. But we look to keep it reasonably light with this audience, but at the same time we look to integrate a proposition within the content as well. So we try and do it in the right way. We try not to force it. We try and bring in the proposition into the creative approach for the whole series. So for this year, for example, we have a pay-as-you-go proposition which is called Data Boost, and that enables you as being a customer of the longer you stay with us, the more data you receive month on month. What we're doing here as a creative concept is we're working with a number of legends within this year's Wembley Cup. So we've got Gerrard, Carragher, Robbie Fowler, and a number of others that are playing with us this year. They bring an element of boost to the team at a certain point in the match. So we just try and look at it from a script point of view and a creative point of view to ensure that the brand is coming across in the right way and the proposition is delivered in a right way that's not forced and going to alienate the fan base that are watching the content.
And we're already talking about things that 2 or 3 years ago we wouldn't have been mentioning or knew very much about. So have you got things that you're looking at for the next few years already that you're looking ahead at that we aren't thinking about properly now?
There are always new and innovative stuff that are being presented by the agencies. I think the great thing that we have is a core number of agencies that are looking at new and exciting ways to do things, and we are working on a couple of things, not necessarily to the scale or to the media exposure that the influencers have started to bring, but from a fan engagement point of view at the stadium, we've got some exciting stuff coming up in the next 6 months, and we're constantly looking at new ways of working with, whether that be with Facebook, whether that be through Snapchat. We're looking at those new ways of media consumption from an youth audience point of view to ensure that we're hopefully ahead of the game and testing these things with that audience and doing things in the right way that's right for the brand and right for the customer as well. So what happened off the back of the Wembley Cup is that then other areas of the business started to look at influencers in their world and what was right for them and how we could start to partner up with other influencers through product launches, for example, around new phones or whether it be propositions around music. Whatever we were doing, it started just to open up the opportunity and open up the chance to really get our message across as clearly as possible.
And is it something, again, which we were talking about earlier, are there other parts of the world that you look at and go, right, they're doing it in that way, and it's something that we could bring to this country?
Yeah,
or are we fairly far ahead already?
I think it depends on. I think it depends on how you look at your sponsorships and what you look to get out of them. Very much depending on, from our point of view, awareness is dare I say, less of an issue for us now. For being in the market for 4 or 5 years, we're up there with O2 and Vodafone with regards to our awareness in the marketplace. But driving engagement and perception of the brand is incredibly important. So that's what we look to do around the partnerships that we have. So it's about how we take those assets and create activate them in an exciting way, and that's through new media opportunities. And in this case, from an influencer point of view, that was something that was very new and very hot at that moment. But certainly, we keep an eye on what's going on around the world. I mean, we as a UK brand are very focused to the UK audience, but that's not to say we don't look at opportunities that are happening around the world. And certainly, we trust our agencies from Havas, who look after our sponsorship side of things, to Poke, that are our digital agency, who work closely together on the Wembley Cup. We work with those guys to ensure that they are, I guess, at the forefront of what's happening and what ideas could be possibly used. Esports is continually one that's talked about from our point of view and has done for the last 3 years or so. And it's incredibly exciting and interesting to see what's happening over in Asia and over in America. It's obviously not quite quite happened yet here from a brand partnership point of view. But seeing what people are doing in that space is quite interesting and quite exciting as well. So we make sure we keep an eye on what's happening in the marketplace and see if there's anything we can learn to bring in and make better the partnerships that we currently have.
Okay. I think we have a couple of minutes left. If anybody does have any questions, we do have the ability to ask questions. Okay, Matt Stevenson, thank you very much.
No problem.
The Connected Stadium.
No problem at all. Thank you.